Hi everybody, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Juan. I am just one reader, and today I will be doing a very fun, exciting little tag which I think suits me perfectly, and I think it suits a lot of people quite perfectly. This is the TBR tag. If you are new to BookTube or you don't know what TBR stands for, TBR stands for to be read. And there are many different ways in which people interpret this. So for me, TBR can be either the books that I physically own but haven't read, or it could be in reference to the books that I have in a monthly TBR or even a yearly TBR. Okay, so I'm just gonna jump right in with the first question, which is how do you keep track of your TBR pile?
And so to answer this question, I kind of have to take you on a little bit of a tour. So I'm gonna show you some of my physical TBR. So this is my bedroom, and these are the floating shelves that I have in my bedroom, and most of this is TBR, which isn't a lot. Then out here in the landing, these shelves are all red. And then up here, I have two shelves. These are special editions, so it doesn't really count. Some of them I have read, some of them I haven't. And then this is kind of a mixed bag. Basically, these are all red. Most of these are red, and most of these are red. Then coming down here to the ground floor, we have just TBR. This is exclusively TBR. So this entire bookshelf is TBR. And this other bookshelf is another TBR. These are books that I'm currently reading at the moment for my psychoanalytical degree. And then this new bookshelf that I have here, which I think is rather cool because it's kind of like a showcase or a display. These are all TBR. And wait, that's not it. Down here, I have yet more bookshelves. This is mostly TBR. This over here is mostly TBR. And this is just for my Stephen King collection. So some of them I have read, some of them are TBR. Then this entire bookshelf is TBR. And then this new bookshelf, this new bookshelf, which is a very cool cube bookshelf kind of thing, is all TBR.
So as you can see, I have a very, very big TBR, which causes me a lot of anxiety. And that's why I am making this video, because it helps you cope with the anxiety, I guess. Now, moving on to the second question in this tag, is most of your TBR print or ebooks? And I think it's very obvious for you to see that I deal with print physical books. I don't do ebooks anymore. I had an ebook phase a couple of years ago. Didn't really work out for me. I think it's great technology. I think I really value it and appreciate it, but it's just not for me. Question number 3 is how do you determine which book you're gonna read next? Which I think is a really interesting, important question, and I would really like to know how do you guys select the next book that you're gonna read, because I think everybody has a different process. Now, the way that I work is I have a calendar on my iPad. I have a bunch of documents and files in which I basically select like 50 books a year that I absolutely have to read in that year, that I have in my physical TBR that I just showed you. And then I sort of organize those books that I want to read, and I scatter them over the calendar so that every month I will get a variety of books, and so that I will have a mix of genres and styles and different things in every month. So then the result is that I have a sort of calendar of my reading a year, which of course can be flexible, but you know, it's there for a reason, so that I can have a better reading experience, with more variety. And then once I have monthly TBR, I sort of play with them. So that's how I decide what I'm going to read next. Okay, so for the next questions in this tag, I will have to go to the physical TBR shelves that I showed you and show you some books. So question number 4 is, what is a book that has been the longest in your TBR?
So there's a lot of books on my TBR, on my physical TBR, that I haven't read, and I've owned them for years, for like 10 years. But the one that I want to show you guys is one that I'm actually planning on reading either this year or next year, and that is Everything is Illuminated by Jonathan Safran Foer. I remember that I got this in, I think it was at San Francisco, so that must have been like 10 years ago. And I watched the movie, and I remember that I loved the movie, but the book just sounds really interesting. And I read the other book that he has, Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close, and it was not like my particular cup of tea, but I still really enjoyed it. And this one has just been calling me out for just recently. So what do you think? Should I give this one a go?
Question 5 is a book that you recently added to your TBR.
So I think the last two books that I purchased and received would be The Party by Elizabeth Day, which literally just came out, and it's just waiting for me there in this bookshelf. And then the other one I think should be right over here. Days Without End by Sebastian Barry, and also Miranda Hart's Peggy and Me, which sounds like a complete utter delight, which I really want to read right away.
Question 6 is a book or books that you added to your TBR because of the cover.
So I wouldn't say that I am the type of reader who would purchase a book just because of the cover, but I am really visual, and of course I love covers. I mean, who doesn't like a good cover? So of course I'm really drawn to books that have stunning covers. And some of the books that I think I've bought and that have been influenced by the cover are Smoke. I mean, just look at this cover. I don't even know what this book is about. I don't really remember. I bought this last year, and just look at the cover. Another one that I bought because of the cover would be Poor Things by Alistair Gray, but I also bought it because Jen Campbell really loves it. What else? I really love the cover of this edition of the Book of Strange New Things by Michelle Faber. Also, this edition of The Picture of Dorian Gray, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I probably would have liked to read this book anyway because I have never read it, but I saw this cover and I was immediately like, I have to have this book and I have to read it. Another beautiful shiny cover that really influenced my decision of purchasing the book is Little Nothing by Marissa Silver. Just look at this baby. And last but definitely not least, this is The Musical Brain, a collection of short stories by Argentinian author Cesar Aira. I've already shown you guys this edition in another book haul that I did a while ago, and this is, I think, my favorite book design just ever of all time. It moves. I don't think I can. Oh, there you go. See, the hand moves, and it's got this kind of neon light design. It's just stunning.
The next question is, what is a book from your TBR that you are probably never going to read?
This is a very sad, hopeless little question, and I think the answer is I would hope to read all the books that I purchase, but if I'm really honest with you guys, there are some books that I don't really think are priorities and that I don't think I am very inclined to reading at the moment, and I will probably read them in like 10 years. One of them is City on Fire by Garth Ritz-Carlberg, just for the sheer size of it, and it's kind of this monumental big literary fiction with a lot of history and socio-political, economical things that I don't really know about. So yeah, that is definitely a book that I don't see myself reading like tomorrow. Another book that I just don't see myself reaching for anytime soon would be this beautiful black bad boy baby, which is S by J.J. Abrams and Doug Dorst. You have probably heard of this kind of meta work. I think this is a book that I could potentially really enjoy, but I'm just really intimidated by the intellectual work that you have to put in order to really get this book and the experience overall. So I just don't see myself reading it very, very soon. But I am definitely intrigued by the idea and the concept of what this book is and what it represents. And finally, talking about Stephen King, he's one of my favorite authors, but let's face it, some of his books are better than others, and he has way too many. So there are some books of his that I really want to read like right now, and there are some others that I'm just not really looking forward to all that much. And one of them would be Insomnia. This is like 900 pages long, which it doesn't look like it's that long, but yeah, these books are deceptively long, and yeah, that one just doesn't really call me right now. Before I move on to the next question, I just have to show you my dog, Gonzalo. He's just lying down like this, just... Oh my god, it's so funny.
So the next question is an unpublished book that you have in your TBR that you really want to read. And I think the only three books that I have on pre-order right now, which of course haven't been published, would be The Book of Dust by Philip Pullman, Origin by Dan Brown, and the Jim Kay illustrated edition of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. The next question is fantastic. What are some books that you have on your TBR that pretty much everyone else has read but you?
Oh boy, there's just way too many answers to this question, so I'm just gonna choose a few at random. The Mistborn trilogy by Brandon Sanderson, absolutely one of my priorities for 2017. I have to read this trilogy. Everyone has read them except for me, and I feel like such a stupid person. Another one would be the Silence of the Lambs. Another answer would be, of course, The Essex Serpent by Sarah Perry. I don't even need to tell you why this book is so hyped. I think everybody has read it except for yours truly. And finally, I will go with 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, just because I am Mexican. I live in Latin America, and this is like the quintessential Latin American classic, and I cannot believe I haven't read this book when literally everybody in Latin America has read this classic.
Next up is a book from your TBR that everybody recommends you.
Again, I have so many answers. I'm just gonna choose a few at random. Radiance by Catherine M. Valente. Everyone tells me to read that book. Fudoki by Kai Johnson is another one that people always tell me that I will love. Same for The Luminaries by Eleanor Catton. Another one would be A Constellation of Vital Phenomena by Anthony Mara. I don't know what the deal is with this author and this book, but literally every time I mention this in a video, everybody just talks about this in the comments, in the comment section. Like, I don't know what it is about this author, but he must be like the real deal. And lastly, some books from this bookshelf that everybody recommends me would be Golden Hill by Francis Bufford right here, How to Breathe Underwater, Get in Trouble by Kelly Link, because, you know, I love Kelly Link and I haven't read these collections, so people tell me to read them. Also, Jennifer Egan's A Visit from the Goon Squad. And finally, Karen Russell's collections. I've only read her novel, Swamplandia, and it's like one of my favorite books of all time, so people always recommend her two short story collections, which would be Vampires in the Lemon Grove right here and St. Lucy's Home for Girls Raised by Wolves.
The next question is a book from your TBR that you are dying to read. Of course, I have so many options for this question, so I'm just going to tell you 5 books that I will probably be reading by the end of 2017 that I am really looking forward to.
So I've got Fingersmith by Sarah Waters, Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte in this beautiful edition, Burial Rites by Hannah Kent, which, by the way, is another book that literally I am the last person on earth to read, Full Dark, No Stars, which is a short story collection by Stephen King, and Civil War Land in Bad Decline, which is another collection by George Saunders.
And the last question in this book tag is, how many books are there on your TBR? So I just counted all of the physical books that I own and haven't read, and the big number is 490 books. So that's a lot. I could probably read that in 5 years if I am really optimistic. So I don't know if I should cry, laugh, hate myself, punish myself. But anyway, that was the TBR tag. I hope you guys enjoyed. It was a lot of fun for me to do and show you around. So consider yourself tagged, do the tag, and I will see you in the next video.